Alrighty, so what's up, everybody? As you guys know, I center all of my content around masculinity, around health, around fitness. And in today's episode, I'm going to be covering why every man should have a cologne collection. So let's get straight into it. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button though. So why should every man have a cologne collection? So first and foremost, you want to smell good out here. You know, whether you're going to work, school, just being around the house, going to the gym, going to church, wherever it is that you go in your day-to-day life, you know, you want to smell good, you want to smell fresh, of course, you know. So it's good for every man to have a cologne collection, because even on days like today, you know, I live in the Chicagoland area, you know, right now it's 71 degrees. You know, so it's not as hot as it usually was, this past week. All right. So it's good to have a cologne, you know, to just wear out on a day like today, smelling fresh, you know, not something that's too overpowering or too overbearing or anything like that, but just something fresh. You know what I'm saying? And it's nice to, on a day-to-day basis, have that nice smell, you know. And I'm not saying that you have to have 100 bottles of cologne or 100 different types of cologne and things like that, but it's good to just have a few different colognes in your collection, you know, 2 or 3, however many that you can afford to have, or however many you can accumulate, you know, over the years, you know. So every man should have a cologne collection, because no matter what day of the year, you know, whether it's a kind of a cool and cloudy day like today, you know, or a hot summer day, you know, or a freezing winter day, you know, like we get here in the Chicagoland area all the time, you know, during the winter time. You know, it's just good to be able to switch up your fragrance. I mean, one day you may want to go with like a more fruity, citrusy, fresh, you know, body wash type smell, you know, something real fresh smelling, you know what I'm saying? So you may want to wear something like that one day, you know, just out to work or to the gym or to school or wherever it is that you're going. But then you may, like, hey, I'm a married man, you know, I go out with my wife from time to time, just me and her, you know. You go out with your wife, you know, you're trying to court a woman, you're trying to make the girl your wife one day, you know what I'm saying? So it's date night, you know, you throwing something extra, you throwing something a little bit more bold and spicy, you know what I'm saying? So it's just good to have those types of colognes in your collection. You know, I mean, you got to start. I know nowadays things cost so much, but eventually I'll make some videos about places that you guys can get a lot of cheap colognes from that smell great, you know. So having that cologne collection as a man, it's just A1, man. It's just A1, you know. I mean, usually I'm out here with a crispy beard. I cut my own hair and things like that, as you guys can see in some of my previous videos here. But it's just good to, you know, be out here fresh, have a crispy lineup, have a crispy haircut, you know, throw on something a little decent and smell good at that, you know, at the same time, you know, just have a fresh scent about yourself, you know. So over time, what you'll notice is that when you do start collecting colognes, you know, you'll start to really enjoy adding different colognes to your collection that match with the weather outside. Like let's just say, for instance, okay, it's a rainy day. Now this is one of the cheap fragrances right here. Okay, it may be a rainy day in the summertime, so you're like, you know, I'm gonna throw on some cool water. You know, I just want to smell fresh. I don't want to overdo it. You know, just want to smell fresh though. Or you may throw on just some Curve. You know, throw on the Curve Original. I mean, that always works as well. You know, it's a lot of different colognes that I can name. I'm not gonna get into all of that on this video. I just want to express how during different weather, you know, it may be snowy. You know, so you may want to throw on something a little bit more bold, or something with like a vanilla scent to it, or something like that. You know, it all depends on whatever your preference is. You know, you'll see people make videos like, hey, what's the best cologne for the wintertime? What's the best cologne for the summer? What's the best cologne for the fall? Things of, you know, and all of that stuff, you know. And those videos can be really informative, but it's really based on your preference. You know, what do you like, you know, at the end of the day, you know. So it's good for every man out there. If you're watching this, man, go ahead, get you a cologne collection, you know, start it up, you know, a good starting point, you know, go to some stores that have some cheap colognes, you know, unless you just got it like that, you know, where you could just go straight to the top, you know, go to the department stores and get you the more expensive fragrances. But to be honest with you, in my personal experience, I mean, whether you get some of the cheap colognes or the more expensive colognes. It's all based on how you feel. You know, I wouldn't say get a cologne based off of anything other than that. You know, like do you like it? That's the most important thing. You know, so yeah, you know, man, get yourself started with a cologne collection. If you haven't already done so, it's definitely worth it, and you'll definitely want to add to that. You know, with time. You know, like I said, if you like those expensive colognes, it might be a while before you build up your collection. You know, but if you want to go with the cheaper colognes, or the colognes that are kind of in the middle, that don't cost as much, but they're not super cheap either, man, over time you can accumulate you a nice cologne collection. And before you know it, you look up, it'll be a year later, you've got at least 10 colognes in rotation. You know, it's good to switch them up, you know, every now and then. Or you could just, I mean, hey, who's to say that you need a whole bunch of colognes? You know, you might be good with just one cologne. One cologne that you really like, call it a day, spray that on every day, you smell fresh, you're good to go. So it's all up to you. So those are at least some of the reasons right there why every man should have a cologne collection. You know, so it's good to have a collection, because when you go into different settings in life, you know, I'm a blue collar guy. I have a blue collar job, you know, but you may be white collar. You may have an office job, or you may be a school teacher. You may be in a job where you work in like an office setting or a professional setting or something like that, or you may work in a factory. What are some other areas that you may work in? Yeah, you know. But you know what, you guys get what I'm trying to say though, you know. So whatever area in life that you work in, or you're consistently going there on a day-to-day basis, it's just good to have that in rotation. So you may be, let's just say for instance, right, you work at a bank, you know, you're a bank teller or something like that, right? So of course you don't want to wear something that's overpowering, you know, the whole office, the whole bank can smell it and things like that. But it's good to have something for the bank, you know, have something for your job. Now you may, if you're married like I am, you know, have you something for date night with your wife too, as well. You know, you go to the gym, you trying to get fit, trying to get in shape, have you something for the gym as well, you know, something fresh. And of course, now to the gym, you don't want to wear something that's super overpowering either, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, how you something for the gym, you know, how you something for just your day-to-day activity. You know, you wake up in the morning, you know, hop out the shower, all that good stuff, get cleaned up, you know, before you go to the store, you know, spray on some cologne. You know, it don't got to be something, like I keep saying, it don't got to be something too bold or too expensive or whatever. Just something fresh, you know, whatever your preference is, you know. But those are just some of the reasons. I'll definitely get into more reasons why every man should have a cologne collection in future videos. In the meanwhile, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button though. I'm about to go in here to this gym, get my workout on, boom, 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 get these biceps bigger, get these arms bigger, work on my chest, work on my abs. I'm trying to do what I can do out here, y'all. So again, I make content centered around masculinity. In this video in particular, I'm just covering why every man should have a cologne collection. So get your cologne collection started today. It don't got to be too expensive. Go to the cheap stores. I'll make a video about that in the very near future here. Maybe that'll be my next video. But in the meanwhile, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Peace out. Have a good one.